Hey everybody, and welcome back to another Max Velocity weather forecast. And in today's forecast, we'll be breaking down a multi-day severe weather event that'll be impacting the United States. This is because of multiple potent troughs that'll be developing near the Rocky Mountains and moving into the Great Plains. This will cause the reaction of damaging winds, large hail, and tornadoes because of it. I'll be giving you the latest breakdown on everything that you need to know in this forecast. But before we go too far into this forecast, I did want to make a disclaimer right off the bat that I've been sick the last couple days. That's why there hasn't been any videos. Had a pretty bad fever a couple nights ago. That's gone now, but I'm still very congested with a sore throat. So bear with me. It might be a little bit of a bumpy forecast, but again, I'll be giving you all the details that you need to know in this video. All right, let's first begin with what's happening across the country. We'll begin with the Northeast United States. Kind of some interesting stuff happening up here. Back over in the Midwest, we have actually a little low pressure area that's been drifting down to the south here in parts of the Midwest, and there's been some showers and storms ongoing in the Chicago area. That's actually led to some flash flooding this morning across areas near Chicago and as well as southeast Wisconsin, and that is slowly drifting right now to the south and southeast. Along the East Coast, showers and storms are continuing all the way from the northeast back through areas in the South Carolina and as well as Florida, and also back into areas like Canada and Nova Scotia. That is the remnants of what we saw with Lee. That is no longer in play anymore. It's moving out to sea, and that is a post-tropical cyclone at this point, and it is not expected to become a tropical storm anytime soon. Great Plains are very dry right now, but that will not last much longer as severe weather will likely ramp up over the next couple days. And over on the West Coast, it's fairly dry as well. A little bit of activity in the Northwest United States, but elsewhere, it's pretty dry right now for most of the western and central tier here of the United States right now. Now, a lot of things are going to change over the next several days with the weather pattern, and to look at that change, we're going to look at the jet stream. As of right now, we do have a low pressure system again that's centered back over in the Midwest. That's been allowing for some flash flooding throughout the day today. And again, notice the jet stream, it's actually a positively tilted trough, so we're not really looking at any significant severe weather out of this. Not really much of a pull of moisture out of the Gulf of Mexico. Once we go to Monday into Tuesday, notice the jet stream also goes off to the north and east, so it's much stronger back out here to the west. But over here, this is going to become much weaker, so this will allow for an increased risk of heat more than anything. So we will start to see heat fill back into this area. That means temperatures will start to return into the 80s and 90s for a large chunk here of the Midwest back through areas in the Mississippi Valley. By Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to have to watch a couple things very closely. So by Tuesday, we are going to be watching for some severe weather here in the southern and central plains. And this is mainly for Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. This will be the first of two waves that we'll be watching of severe weather. And this will be mainly damaging winds and hail. But once we go into Thursday and Friday, we are watching a much more potent trough that'll start to eject over the Rocky Mountains. This could be a pretty big threat of severe weather down the road if everything goes to fruition. As of right now, the European model indicates that this would be positively tilted initially. Eventually, as this rolls over into the central plains by Saturday, this could cause some pretty significant severe weather for a large chunk of the central plains and even maybe the southern plains. So this will be a trough to watch for very closely, and this would obviously pose all modes of severe weather, including damaging winds, hail, and tornadoes. So this will have to be watched very closely as we go throughout the week. And obviously, this is still about 160 hours out. It's about 6 days out, so things will definitely change, but this is definitely something that's very concerning. And where this goes is a bit of uncertainty point too. Some computer models have brought this up here closer to like the Dakotas. Some have brought it down into the southern plains. So it's a pretty large area here. It's almost like forecasting a hurricane 9 days or 6 days out. Obviously, there's gonna be a large cone of uncertainty. That's kind of what we're looking at here. There's also a chance it doesn't really come to fruition. So we'll be watching it closely. And as we go throughout the late weekend and into the next week, it looks like that'll weaken out pretty quickly, but we will probably get a good shot of severe weather sometime on the weekend. That's at least what I'm thinking right now. Here's the future radar for the next several days. A couple things to know. Over in the Northeast, we'll be watching for heavy rainfall going into Monday and as well as into Tuesday. This will not be a tropical storm, but it will bring some heavy rainfall, and that'll allow for a few inches of rain. Some areas could get upwards of 4 inches locally. By Tuesday into Wednesday, we're watching for severe weather in parts of the southern plains, so that's an area to watch for some severe weather. Damaging winds, hail being a concern for both Tuesday and Wednesday. By Thursday, that starts to clear out, but by Friday, storms will become a bit more numerous across parts of the Great Plains. So notice into late Thursday into Friday, showers and storms across areas in Kansas all the way back through the Dakotas. That'll be mainly damaging winds with any of that activity. But by Saturday, we could get a more of an organized trough. Notice 999 millibars. That's an intensifying low low pressure system, so by Saturday there might be a better chance there of some severe weather. And you'll notice here going into late Saturday night into Sunday morning, storms all the way from Texas back into Missouri and as well as Iowa. So that's definitely very concerning right now. It does look like we'll have a good shot of severe weather here across parts of the Great Plains as we go into next weekend. But again, things may change, and depending on how those things change, this could happen further north, could happen further south, and it also might not happen at all. So hopefully it doesn't happen at all, but it does seem like it's a bit more likely than not it will happen at this point. Now let's talk more about the severe weather potential for the next several days, and we'll begin with Monday. Right now, we have a very tiny marginal threat of severe weather. It includes parts of the Texas Panhandle, mainly for damaging winds and hail. But once we go into Tuesday, this is tossing trampolines on Tacos Tuesday, we have a pretty large area of severe weather to watch for. This is going to include anywhere from Kansas back through North Texas, a bit of a rare one for September. Slight risk of severe weather for parts of western and southern Oklahoma, and does include Oklahoma City, and as well as parts of northern Texas, north central Texas, and as well as back into the Panhandle. Main concerns right now are damaging winds and large hail, and notice that slight risk does not include the DFW area, but does include Wichita Falls, back near Bowie, Texas. Those areas all included right now, and we do have a hatched area to go along with this, so there could be some large to very large hail, perhaps some significant damaging winds, and I wouldn't rule out a couple tornadoes out of this event. The tornado risk should stay a bit lower, but there is definitely going to be a chance at least for a couple tornadoes. Low-level jet for Tuesday is not going to be very intense, but we'll get a little bit of a low-level jet going around 25 to 35 knots, so that should at least allow for a conditional tornado risk, at least something isolated, but we might see that increase a little bit over the next couple days, so stay tuned. That'll be something to watch for, but right now it seems to be a bit of a lower threat right now. That could definitely increase though as we get closer. One thing to note with this setup before I show you the timing is the dew points. This is pretty critical. We don't usually see this very often during September. If it does happen, it's usually on the later half of September, which we are now in the later half. But notice going into Tuesday afternoon, we're actually going to get a dry line setup across parts of the Texas Panhandle. And this is a bit more of a rare little setup here that we have a dry line that's sitting here. And this will actually allow for those dew points again to be in the mid 60s right along that frontal boundary. That's pretty primed for severe weather, at least some isolated discrete supercells popping up, which would produce all modes of severe weather. But that'll definitely be something to watch out for. Those dew points are definitely up there, and it's actually in a pretty good spot when it comes to a severe weather threat. All right, here's the timing. First, beginning with the Monday threat, there will be a couple of isolated cells back over in the Texas Panhandle during the afternoon, maybe into the early evening. That'll produce mainly damaging winds and hail, but that will be a very minimal threat overall. But once we look at the timing for Tuesday, this is a much more significant severe weather event, it looks like, because watch what happens right around about 4 or 5 o'clock in the afternoon. We get a big explosion here of showers and storms, and these will quickly produce large hail and damaging winds. So these will probably evolve pretty quickly. I wouldn't even rule out an enhanced risk of severe weather at this point for this sort of severe weather event. Notice as we go into the evening, storms become a bit more clustered together, which if that did happen, this would lead into more of a damaging wind threat. But there's a lot of things that have to be sorted out over the next 24 to 48 hours in terms of the setup, and as well as how these storms do evolve and whether they will start more discrete and they'll continue like that, or will they become more clustered. We'll keep you posted with the latest details. As long as I still have my voice by tomorrow, I will have a video on this for tomorrow, so make sure you stay tuned, make sure you subscribe to the channel, and like the video.